Hello, fellow ink drinkers, and welcome back to the Blind Girls Book Talk podcast. My name is Aria.
And I'm Belle.
And we are two legally blind sisters who love reading and love books. And what we decided to do is make a podcast just talking about that.
We talk about a wide variety of bookish topics.
And that can range from bad retellings of stories, book to movie adaptation comparisons, buddy reads, recent reads, bookish challenges. Really, the list does go on and on.
And we have now branched into film and TV.
Occasionally. Potentially. And today, what we are doing is... Okay. So, a friend of ours is having a small human very soon. And so, of course, because she loves to read and we love to read, we have decided, we're going to get a bunch of baby books or like kids books, like books for small humans. And so we wanted to kind of talk about going into the children's section of a bookstore and seeing how it's changed from like when I was a small child and when Belle was a small child and like that kind of stuff. So, first things first. There are some very interesting books for children nowadays.
There are.
There are some very interesting ones. And it's one of those, if you can find ones that are not from like major IPs. Like, okay, when we went into the children's section, what we saw a lot of is a lot of like Disney storybook collections and like Peppa Pig and
Bluey
and
what's some of the other really weird IPs for little children right
like
now?
Paw Patrol and like every single like kids cartoon essentially had
multiple books,
had a whole like book series. And I feel like I kind of remember this a little bit when I was a kid, but I feel like it wasn't quite as prevalent. I think Franklin had some books. I don't think Little Bear did.
Franklin, Thomas the Train.
Thomas did. Maisie did. I know
Maisie did. Those are the only
Spot. Spot did.
Okay, I don't know Spot. The three ones that I know of would have Clifford, but like Clifford started as books.
Yeah, Clifford started as books.
That one.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of weird to me because it used to be like these things started as books and then they went to like a little TV show or like a little movie or something. And now it's like all of these shows, yeah, they throw out some books sometimes.
Well, like Disney always had like the princess books or like the...
Yeah, Disney's always had
something
a lot
like that. But like it wasn't to the extent that they have it now.
I mean, Disney dominated. There was so much.
So much.
Disney stuff. And I don't know, it was one of just kind of like a weird thing because like before you could find, and not even talking about for like school age children, like for like little kids, like you could find some interesting things. Like you could find some different stuff. Like, I mean, like back in the day, like Amelia Bedelia was like a whole thing.
Mrs. Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah. Her.
Froggy. Biscuit.
Yeah. Biscuit. Clifford, obviously. Curious George. the staple kids characters, I guess. And I don't know, like now it's just like all the TV shows and like stuff we've never heard of. And granted, like we have not been children for a very long time. Like, you know, things change, things, you know, grow and evolve. But also just the amount, it's kind of one of those, you either find really niche, interesting stories that like some kind of like indie creator almost like created and it like blew up, and so like now here it is, here's like the final product. Because I know there was a book and we got it at this point, even though it's a little bit of an older story for kids, or like it's more of like a toddler, probably like a small child but not school age child story, that what was it called? The Bakery Dragon. And apparently it had been like a really big thing online. Like the person who made the book had been like putting like the artwork and stuff like on social media and like gaining a following. And like then the book happened, you know, because she was able to generate a lot of like buzz and like interest and like, hey, people really want this book. So like, I don't know. Like, it's just, you get that, and then you get the other side of the spectrum is like Disney.
Like, Disney and like massive TV show IPs.
Yeah.
And like, I'm like on the fence with it. Mm-hmm. Because growing up, all of the books that I loved aren't sold anymore.
Yeah.
Like, they're not a thing anymore because they've been overtaken by these IPs. I can understand the IPs of, oh, parents want their child to read. They'll get them a book of their favorite TV show stuff to get them to read. That never worked for me. And, like, I hated reading as a kid.
Yeah.
So, like, in my head, there seems to be logic. Like, I'm like, okay, I understand parents want to get their children to read, they'll buy these books. But at the same time, I know how much that does not work.
I mean, the thing is I know, like, I remember having this really nice, and I'm sure it's somewhere, we still have it, but it was a huge set of these, like, really nice short like Disney stories that it was, I can't even remember what they were. Like I can remember the feel of the book like in my hand.
I know what you're talking about. They were like, they had like that very old 90s look.
Yes.
Yeah, and like they had like the silver goldish spine, like it had like a shiny spine.
It might have, I don't remember that part, but it was just like little like fragments of stories almost.
Yeah, it was like fragments of the fairy tales.
Yeah, I feel like Mickey and the Beanstalk might have been one of them, or like so like something like that. But
like,
it wasn't
I know Pinocchio was
story.
one of them.
Yeah, I think,
and it was just fragments of the Pinocchio tale.
There's things like that. Like I remember like the Berenstain Bears being a thing.
Yeah, like when we were looking, I didn't see a single Berenstain Bear book. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, those were freaking huge.
And like the things that like the characters that were really big, like Corduroy, I don't remember seeing that.
No.
I don't remember seeing Goodnight Moon. It might have been there, but I don't remember seeing it.
I don't know Goodnight Moon.
But like these kind of staple kids books, and like granted there are some kids books that I'm kind of glad I don't think you see anymore, like Rainbow Fish. I'm kind of glad that one has fallen to the wayside.
Don't remember Rainbow Fish.
We didn't read it, but I recently stumbled across.
I think I read it in like library class.
You probably were. The thing about it is like Rainbow Fish is like giving up like parts of himself to other
my
fish.
Gosh, yes.
And like I remember someone like talking, like doing a quick little snippet on some social media, and was just like, this is like such a bad thing to be teaching children. And it's just kind of like, I mean
Well, like, and
it ain't great.
Yeah, and I know some of the books we mentioned aren't well known, like the Froggy series. If anybody knows the Froggy series,
hey, let us know.
Please let us know, because apparently we are the only two people, minus our mother, who remember this thing. And, like, I, for one, loved the Froggy books.
Yeah, the Froggy books were so cute.
Like, I loved the Froggy books. I will forever remember the Froggy books, especially because there was one day I had, like, it was the middle of the night and Arya had to go to the hospital, so I was sent to the neighbors, and I always was read to sleep, and because, like, the neighbors were trying to get me back to sleep, our mom sent us over with Froggy Rides a Bike, and they read me Froggy Rides a Bike. I remember this distinctly.
I wonder which hospital trip was this one?
The seizure.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were with us, though.
Mm-mm. They sent me to the neighbors. I slept on their couch.
I mean, granted,
You were unconscious.
Seizing.
You were seizing. So, like, she was fine. She was fine. Let's preface
it's
this.
all good.
Arya was fine and has not had anything like that ever since.
But it was at the time.
At the time. It was very scary. So, like, anybody who knows those books, please let me know, because, like, there's Froggy Plays Soccer, Froggy Gets a Baby Sibling.
I think there's like Froggy Snow Day.
Froggy Goes Fishing. Like,
I think there's just a regular Froggy.
There's a Froggy. Yeah, there's like the original Froggy. Like, so much of Froggy Does stuff. And, like, they were amazing.
And they're so cute.
Like, they were so cute too. Like, the art style was really cute. And the other one that was a favorite of both Arya, mine, and our mother's was Sailing Off to Sleep.
It was more of you guys' favorite.
Oh, yeah, it was mine and Mom's.
Because at that point, I was like, I was older. I was an older kid. I was like, I was getting ready to be a preteen. Like,
the age gap reared its head.
Yeah, like, it's one of those things where I was like, okay, this is a very cute story. Like, I could recognize that, but also I'm like an older child. Like, for me, I'm like, that's cute and all, but like, you know, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, it went out of print a couple years ago, I think. And we brought it up to her mom, and when she, like, looked it up and, like, noticed that, she did get both Arya and myself our own copy of the book for when either of us have children.
Yeah.
And then when our friend announced that she was going to have a small human, she happened to just get the last copy of that book.
Yep.
And it's sad because the art style is really pretty. It's like watercolored, and it's a really cute story.
It's a gorgeous book.
It's a gorgeous book. Has a super cute story. But, like, I'm sad that that's not a thing anymore. One thing that I wish would, vanish off the face of the earth is freaking Biscuit.
I like Biscuit.
I despise Biscuit.
I like Biscuit.
I despise Biscuit. But
so
you don't
cute.
have a problem with Biscuit like I have a problem with Biscuit.
You have beef with Biscuit.
I have major beef with Biscuit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, like, I don't know, I feel like a lot of the books that I grew up with don't really exist anymore. Like, they're just kind of,
especially for when we were little.
Yeah, they're just kind of gone.
Like, this isn't even talking about, like, when you move up into, like, the school age books.
I'm not ready for that.
I'm not either. That's going to be a separate episode. But the reason I mentioned that is the first time we went back into the children's section was on my birthday last year. Mm-hmm. We took a trip to Barnes and Noble, and we were walking around, and our mother was like, "Oh, Belle's 24. We should go and, like, just look at the little kids stuff, like, because I'm the baby of the family, to, like, reminisce." And we're walking around. We can't find a single title of stuff we know. Like,
yeah,
it was
all
bad. We felt so bad.
So we did go, I think, a couple years earlier, or maybe like a year or so earlier, because a good friend of the family, she was, like, moving back to the state. Like, she had moved out of state and was moving back to the state. And because of that, Mom wanted to get her children like presents. Like I think it was around like Easter time or something. So she wanted to get Easter presents. So she was like, okay, let's go to the children's section and let's see if we can find a couple of cute like books for these kids. And I was looking around and I was like, I cannot help you. I have no idea what any of this is. This is all insanity.
The
Absolutely
only other
not.
time I remember, it was somebody that we know somehow, probably one of our mother's distant family members that we don't know,
Probably
was having a child. And she sent us into the kids section to each pick out, like, well, each of us picked out our own book and then another book from, like, all of us. And, like, it took us a hot minute to find Seuss.
Yeah. Yeah, Dr. Seuss is not easy to come by either, which is odd.
Like, he was, like, in the back corner.
Yeah. Which, I mean, again, odd. It's very odd all around.
It was very weird. And then, like, you know, it was years later, I went back in. But, like, I mean, we found nice books for this small human.
I mean, and granted, we also went to the smaller bookstores first before going to Barnes and Noble. And that helps because, like, honestly, if you have a local bookstore that they have, like, a decent variety of books, like a little bit of everything, going there to look for kids' books is going to be way better than going to like Barnes and Noble or like one of the big chains. Because I mean, actually strike that, reverse it. Barnes and Noble is not great for kids' books, in my opinion. In my limited opinion, not little kids' books. It's better, I think, for like,
it's better for school age
kids and like getting into young adult. But I don't think it's great for smaller children, like babies and toddlers. Books A Million has an interesting selection. And granted, also, preface, we're not sponsored by any of these people.
No.
This is literally just our personal opinions of us looking around at stuff.
Yes, and it's also, I'm going to also preface this. I know we've said this before. Aria and myself have limited experience with independently owned bookstores.
Yes.
Limited experience. We didn't go to our first one until I was in college.
Yes.
And there was one that was brought to my attention. So then, you know, when family visited me in college, I asked to go with them, and it was nice. But until we came down for law school and I drug Aria with me, we'd never been into like a small, independently run and owned.
In our area, the only options we had were Barnes and Noble or Books A Million.
And now we only have Barnes and Noble.
Yes.
Preface of that.
Yeah. If we could shop small, we would. If we could have, we would have. But we can't. And we've already talked about how we love libraries in theory, but in practice for us, it does not work.
It does not work. And
so anyway, but Books A Million has a really interesting selection of like little kids books. The last time we were kind of looking around.
Baby Mothman.
Yeah, they had like, and that's the thing too, right? You can get into some like stranger stuff. Like one of the ones that we found was like Baby Dracula, and it was like just like counting essentially like different things. Like it wasn't like creepy, but it was just like little like that kind of thing. And there was like Baby Edgar Allan Poe, like Baby Nevermore or something like that, which was again another counting thing.
We found the one we got, it was at one of the independently run. Aria had a day out and we like walked down to the one bookstore, and they had we were looking, and I was like, oh, and this was still early on into before this child was set to enter this world, and I was like, oh, do we just want to look? And we were looking, and I found baby versions of some classics.
Yes. And we found a lot of interesting stuff,
We
actually.
did. We found a lot of interesting stuff.
That's where the bulk of what we got.
Honestly, between there and Amazon.
Yeah. Which, I mean, Amazon...
I don't think we've gotten her anything from Barnes & Noble. From you and I
don't
individually.
think so.
I don't think we gotten a single thing. And, like, we've probably gotten this child too many books. But
and we're going to keep doing it.
And we're going to keep doing it because neither of us have children. So, like...
And that's probably not going to happen for a very long time, if it happens.
Yeah, apparently it's down to me, and I'm not focused on that stuff right now. For reasons of school and career. But we're getting books. Like, we found, like, a Nevermore version. Edgar Allan Poe for a baby. What was the other one? Dracula.
I just remember the Nevermore and the Dracula.
Yeah, I was so excited for those.
I think there was like one other, but we didn't get it because we were kind of like, like that's not as important.
That's not as important as that.
Two.
No. And then I'm waiting at least for a little bit, and then I'm going to get a baby version of Pride and Prejudice because I found that was a thing, and. So, yeah, this baby is getting it.
That's going to be a thing.
That's going to be a thing. 6-month birthday gift or something. Yeah. That's what this child is getting. Because I have to.
Thing. That's a thing.
It's a thing. I got so excited when I found out that was a thing, too.
But, yeah, I mean, again, not saying that there's not good kids' books out there, because there is. Like, I know there is. You just really have to, like, go searching and kind of have an idea of, like, what you're looking for. Because otherwise, you just get drowned in
IP.
And, like, again, stuff that it's kind of like, I didn't realize this was a thing. Because wasn't there a couple, like, YouTube-based books, too?
Yeah, there were like YouTube game.
Because I thought it was Coco Melon. I thought we saw some Coco Melon.
Yeah, there was Coco Melon. Pretty sure there was Roblox or Minecraft.
Yeah,
there were some really, really weird.
Yeah, so like, I don't know. For me, I'm just kind of like,
and I think like we're not saying that any of those books are bad in any way, shape, or form. This is just, again, I'm coming from a place of, I can see why. Because at the end of the day, it's done to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So parents who want their children to read will see things that their children like and are like, oh, yeah, that. It will get my child to read. But as a child who didn't do that, now has beef with Biscuit... I just don't see how that works. And one of our very early episodes was about how anybody can become a reader.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about necessarily picking like a children's book based on something that like
it might work for some people.
It might work for some people, but for me, and I know some other people, it didn't work that way. So like for me, it wasn't until I was a bit older and I found a book that just worked with my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And that triggered it. But, like, I can see why it's there. And I'm not saying it won't work for everyone. I just think that's why some parents, when their kids then just still don't want to read, they get frustrated.
Yeah.
Because their children don't want to read when it's not... I don't know.
Yeah, it's, again, this is just our experience. We are not experts by any means. Like,
yep.
we are just people who loved reading. Well, for me, I loved reading from a very young age. For Belle, it took her a little bit, but that's okay.
Frickin' Biscuit.
It's just our experience with books, and with, being older and then going back and trying to find things, for friends and family and that sort of thing, and just being like, oh man, this is weird. Like, this is not
and
what happened to all of
Yeah, like
the
all
good
of what
stuff.
we like. Where did that go? And I would also like to point out, everybody may think like, oh, Froggy, you got that somewhere else. We literally got it at Barnes and Noble. It used to be at Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I can't remember because it was our grandma that had it, or our one grandmother that had the books, and that's how we were introduced to it. And then,
Well, I know they had them because I remember the one time whenever I was really little, they came out with a new one.
maybe I don't know. I don't remember this. Again, this was forever ago.
This was forever ago
in my life, let alone like Belle's life. She's a little closer to it than I am. This has been quite some time for me.
Yes,
but yeah, I don't know. It's just,
and I understand that, like, places like Barnes and Noble and Books A Million can't hold books forever.
right.
Like some books have to retire. Like that is how it
Fair,
works.
yeah.
That is fair because no place can hold every single book in existence. That's not how it works.
No.
But like, I think just looking back at our childhoods and seeing all of the different stories where things really mattered for their stories, to then go back years later and see it's mainly for money with all the IPs. It's just a bit disheartening. And then, like, it hits me of like, this is why, so like especially in America, and I know similar things are happening in Britain, where the reading age for young people, like the percentages is lower and lower of people who like to read and willingly will pick up a book. And to me, I just find that sad.
Yeah. So, hey, again, just kind of for us, we just wanted to make some interesting observations. And like, if you guys have a similar experience, a different experience, like, let us know, because we are interested in knowing what you're experiencing too. Because
if you're experiencing the same thing, or if you disagree with anything, if you know what Froggy is,
yeah, let us know. Just let us know. I know there's a bunch of different places. I know this is going up on YouTube, and I think Spotify now has comments. So, like, let us know, man.
Spotify does comments?
Allegedly. I don't know. I've never seen it in real life.
Someone leave a comment if you're on Spotify. I just want to see if that's a thing. If you can leave a comment, please do. I want to see if that's an actual thing.
So, that being said, we want to thank you guys for coming along today as we talked about baby books, our experience with them, recently. Of course, if you like this episode, if you like what you've been listening to, please consider following the episode and sharing the episode with your friends. Also commenting, like we said. It really would help us to grow the show, and we would appreciate any support that those actions would give. If you don't want to, hey, it's all good. It's all good. Now, next time, we have a tentative plan, but we're not going to say out loud what that tentative plan is.
Yeah, and it's going to be an episode a month.
Yes, we have gone down to an episode a month right now, just to kind of make it a little bit easier on us. So,
i.e. me.
Yes, but also, too, because we're doing this and Belle is going to have a crazy summer, we're stockpiling episodes again, guys. It's crazy. It's been a hot minute since we've had to do such things.
It's been a hot minute.
So we're going to be doing that. Like I said, we're not going to say our plans because they could very well change. So that being said, again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.